Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Military, I'm a certified financial social worker. I was in the Air Force for 14 years, and then I paid off $20,000 of debt while I was active duty within 3 years as an E3. So that's kind of like I got really into personal finance, and so I've been really passionate about that ever since. And that was 10, 12 years ago now. So since then, I became a social worker, and now I'm a certified financial social worker. So we kind of get into, dealing with finances, but then also kind of dealing with the psychology behind finances, like the mental side of things. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, your battle buddy when it comes to finances, please welcome the fire social worker, Joey Laswell.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. This is Money in the Military. I am Joey. And we are on Military Broadcast Radio, where we're giving veterans a voice. And today, once again, we have back Cameron, who is your podcast is going to be called
Uncle Fester's
podcast. Okay, so yeah, future MBR podcaster was gracious enough to lend us his time and his voice to jump on the stream, and we're just going to talk a little bit more about finances in the military, especially some things and lessons that we've maybe both of us have learned along the way. Hopefully, have learned.
Yeah.
And just kind of talk about some of the common issues that military members might have when dealing with their finances. But before we get into the formalities and stuff, so what's going on with you, Cameron? How's life on the road treating you?
So far, so good. Very little snow so far. Cross my fingers, knock on wood, I don't run into a whole bunch of it. Traffic still same, seeing all the construction, but we're still moving a lot of freight today. I actually have limestone on going to a ag center for delivery on tomorrow morning. So I'll be actually in Longmont, Colorado.
Nice.
To experience some more cold. I woke up this morning, it was 10 degrees, and then now it's like 45. So
wow.
I'll take the 45.
Yeah, I'll take that too. All right. Well, we just always are looking out for you, hoping that you're doing okay on the road, and I'm glad you're staying safe as much as you can.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you coming on. So let's see. I got a few people have already given me some questions.
Yes, sir.
But I guess, I was curious for you, Cameron. Did you have any financial questions or concerns, or maybe an issue that you're dealing with financially, and you might want to, like, maybe we could talk about it and have the audience learn something, or I don't know. What do you feel?
Well, when I was, again, let me kind of backtrack my mind here. When I was back in the military, the biggest thing that I learned when I was in Germany was all my gear that was assigned to me from the processing center. If you didn't turn that in, they charged you to either have that recovered or to be replaced. Well, as an E1, E2, if you didn't keep track of your stuff, whether you put your initials on it or you had on your ACH your name band or whatever around your head, that was stolen. Didn't matter if it was civilian or another unit or someone in your own company. If they saw a helmet laying around, it was gone. And those helmets run anywhere from $150 to $200. And first, new boots on the ground in Germany, and hey, here's your stuff. Go to formation, set your stuff down, and someone's going through your stuff. So the biggest advice I had for anybody that was in the military was keep track of your stuff. Keep it next to your leg or whatever, because by the time you start adding up, your ponchos, your sleeping bags, your helmet, your vest, your body plates, whatever, it starts adding up very quickly, and that eats into what money you may have left coming out of the military with. Going forward, the last time we talked about the person that wrote you, hey, I've got debt, I'm transitioning out of the military, going to civilian life. I could have had thousands of dollars. I couldn't tell you how much, but I spent it on going out partying. I spent it on food and video games and whatever, when there should have been a better mindset of, hey, let's save it, because you don't know what the next step is. And you don't know when you're going to go to war and what the process of that happens. So, but really, the one thing that I learned is just watch what you spend. Watch what you spend. And if you need something, it has to be that dire need that it has to give you the next month, the next 2 months down the road. Personal hygiene, flashlights, batteries, winter clothes, I always carry something with me to say, hey, I'm going to be a little bit smarter come this year. And, every month or every year you learn something new going, I should have done that. Or where was my money? How did I poorly spend my money and not catch it in time for me to stop? So, you learn by making mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm hoping with this show, that between all of us veterans on the MBR and myself included, there's a lot of mistakes financial that I have made, that I'm hoping that other, like, if you're active duty listening right now, you can kind of learn from those mistakes so that you don't make the mistakes that we made.
Yeah, and the biggest thing was when you get all your gear from basic training to your job training, and then you go to your duty station, man, they're just giving you stuff. You're not even really keeping track of it. You're throwing it in the duffel bags, and you're just going about your day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you may get new uniforms, or you may get your ACH, your battle vest, your weapon, your this or that. Your mind's run 1,000 miles a minute. So it's what I learned was when I got to Germany was, man.
Hey, hold on 1 second, Cameron. I actually have somebody that wants to jump on the stream real quick. We got Magic Mike. Can you hear us?
The God himself.
What's going on, guys? Hey, listen.
Hey. Oh, you're muted. What? You're muted.
Mike, you're muted. Can't hear.
Let me try unmuting myself. Okay. Hey, first of all, if you guys are not listening to this podcast, Joey, I love you. I'm a 53-year-old guy. I've been in the streets because I financially wasn't right watching what I was doing. What's going on, Cameron, my brother from another mother right there, man. Hey, it's great to be on here. Listen, if you guys are joining us for the first time, or if you guys have never tuned in, Joey and Cameron are a dynamic duo. But Joey, man, listen, your financial advice and just watching your podcast, man, opens up eyes and doors that they don't teach in school. Seriously, they don't teach us. They don't sit there and say, hey, by the way, credit is important to you guys, and this is how you build it. It's not building it by I only have a couple here, but it's not by building it by having 35 credit cards, right? It's by it's by being financially responsible, right? And Cameron, man, I was listening to you. I mean, you hit it straight on the head. You're giving a private his own room. He doesn't have financial responsibilities for a cell phone. Well, responsibilities for a light bill, for a garbage bill, water bill, heat bill, rent. He doesn't have those responsibilities, right? And we get to Germany, man, we got all this money. We got cost of living allowance, COLA and everything like that. I mean, it's great. So let's take it a step further. When we get out of the military, and those of us who are truly blessed and 100% total and permanent through the VA, we're making $52,000 a year. Tax-free money, right? How are we spending that? What are we doing with that money? Especially those of us who have a part-time job or a job and they're fortunate enough to go back to work, right? It's being responsible, man. And your show, man, is phenomenal. I love it, and I'm just honored to even be on your broadcast, man.
Oh wow, that's I appreciate you saying that. That's really good to hear, and I'm just glad that people are checking it out. And like I've said it before in many of my shows, like just earlier I was saying that a lot of this is just hard lessons that I've learned, and I just want to be that future time traveler that says, hey, this is what this is what's gonna look like if you keep doing this, or if you do this decision, then you might end up your future self is going to hate you, basically. So that's kind of what the idea is, to just kind of share the wealth, if you will, a little pun there, and then just also kind of normalize talking about finances amongst the military community. We just don't do that very well. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. So thanks for jumping on. Mike, thanks for jumping on, Mike. Did we lose him?
He looks like he's messed something. The one thing that I learned
from us. Okay. Wow.
The one thing that I learned when I got to Germany was, and I don't know when were you stationed at, but the one thing that I got to learn was, like, we had the credit union on the base, right? And the credit union came to all of our barracks and like, hey, if you need assistance, because your first time here, here's a loan. Well, you're 19, 20 years old. You don't know anything about a loan. You don't know the interest rates. You don't know how it works. I'll be the first one to tell you. I walked right in the door going, hey, I hear money, right? And the lady sits down and you sign a contract. And they give you the money up front. You just got to make the payment. And they know your schedule when you're deployed, quote unquote deployed or stationed in a foreign country. They know your schedule of payment. So they turn around and they go, hey, guess what? $50 a month, $100 a month. And eventually, like Magic Mike was saying before we lost him, you have to build credit somehow. Well, that helps out. And it shows good on your future endeavors. Even though you're in the military, it still helps out. I signed up for one of those little military star cards. I had a $2,000 limit. Never used a thing. My bonehead closed the account when I could have even used it years later. Guess what? It still it's closed now, but it still shows, hey, I was available for $2,000. So again, there's a lot to learn that the schools didn't teach us, like Magic Mike was hitting on. The schools didn't teach us. Our parents didn't teach us. And then you get in the military and it's like, nah, we ain't going to teach you because you're probably not going to live very much longer. I mean, that was my NCO was that hardcore. He was 6 months, you're going to Afghanistan. So, and that was it.
Man. All right, Mike, we're going to try again. You're still muted, but we got your.
There you go. Good. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
We're working now. I can hear you great, Joey. Sorry.
Awesome. Oh yeah, no problem. It's that's the gremlins in the internet that likes to cause
all kinds of weird glitches.
You know, like Cameron was saying, man, you know, you get those paychecks, man, and you just, you know, where are you financially being responsible? And I'll tell you a great story of this guy. He unfortunately lost his life in actually when he got out of the military. He went back to California and started his life, but he did, you know, three years in the Army. They sent him straight to Germany right after basic training. And Oskar was his name. And Specialist Oskar every weekend would go get a case of beer, go to his room, didn't travel anywhere, which was really sad because, you know, they have all this free stuff, you know, MWR gives free travel and everything. Mm-hmm. And he would throw all his change in one of those. You remember those old military trash cans, like gray or they were green or whatever, the little trash cans. And he would throw all his change in there. When he left Germany, he had almost $100,000 saved up in his bank account. And he had over 1,000 Deutschmark. At the time it was Deutschmark before it converted to euro in this trash can that he gave to me. I was his barracks mate, if you will. And he gave it to me. And he said that he saved money because he didn't travel, didn't go anywhere, which is sad. You know, you travel to Germany, you want to see it. Mm-hmm. But I remember the first thing I did when I got to Germany was I went and bought a CD player, man. It was like $780, man. Can you imagine that? A CD player, 700, they're obsolete now. And here I was, I bought a JVC and it lasted like 2 years before it broke. Right. But for me, that was like the coolest thing. It was like this little, you know, thing. And I wish I knew now from your show, listening to your guidance and listening to you guys talk. I wish I knew now back then what I know now, because I would have put that money away, you know, saved that money and stuff. It's just like these guys who get, you know, their VA disability back paid, you know. You know, I got back paid. I don't mind sharing it. I got back paid a little over $270,000. Right. Wow. I didn't buy a house. I didn't see, you know, very fortunate that I had somebody who was smart enough to tell me to put it away. Right. So I put it away. You know, we get these financial things where we really don't know what to do. We have nobody like you, Joey, like you, Cameron, who are there saying, hey, listen, stupid, don't go a trick, what do they call that? Rapture, whatever. That's like 80, it's like, or 109 or the
Raptor
or the Cybertruck or whatever. Because I will tell you this, it was very unfortunate that I was in my 50s when I met a guy who owned a bunch of properties, and he told me he drove a piece of crap pickup truck, but he was a millionaire. He had lots of money. And he said, my dad taught me at a young age in life you want to do. You want to live for free and drive for free. And I was like, oh, I don't get it. He says, I bought my first house. I lived upstairs. I renovated downstairs. He said, and then I lived downstairs and renovated upstairs. And then I went ahead and lived upstairs and rented downstairs. He said, then I bought my next property and I did the same thing. And then I started buying property. He said, my truck gets me from point A to point B. I don't care what I look like. All I care is that I can put a ladder in there, some paint, go to the, you know, Lowe's or Home Depot. And it makes sense. It makes sense. This guy lives for free, meaning he doesn't have a mortgage or he doesn't pay rent. Right. And he doesn't have a vehicle that he pays. You know, what's the average? You know, I had somebody the other day say, you know, it was just a big group of people talking. He said, how much do you pay for your car? And he goes, oh, it's about $730 a month. They go, oh, that's not that bad.
And Mike's face says it all. When
he says,
gosh,
Joey, can you imagine that? That's not bad at all. Really?
That's almost a mortgage payment for some places.
That is. That's a mortgage payment. If you and your wife both are making, you know, so I think that financially that we need to educate not just our children at a young age, but our soldiers need to be educated, right? And it goes way beyond balancing a checkbook, because God knows we don't even use checkbooks anymore.
Right.
It goes to, you know, when you get that you know, I love doing this right here. When you get that God Almighty military star card,
there it is.
Yep.
And they give you a credit limit of $3,000, and you go and you max it out.
Yeah.
And then they up your credit to 5,000, and you go and max that out, and then you're at $8,000, $10,000, and you're like, oh, I got all this money. No, you don't have money. Right.
And what's funny is the interest rate. They don't tell you the interest rate.
Oh no, the interest rate is nothing. It's nothing until later, 22 months later, when it's 12% or 13%. And, you know, that payment for that, you know, DVD player or whatever it is that you bought, that shows you how old I am, DVD player, right? For whatever you bought, though, the interest rate on there is the credit card itself is $100 a month. but the interest rate is 172. It's like you're never going to pay that down.
Yeah.
So, it's credit is great, but you got to work and know it. Credit cards are hard.
Oh, we lost you, muted.
It's just something that's huge. You just got to be careful with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually, that's a great point. We're going to put a pin in that. We're going to keep talking some more after a quick musical interlude from Noah Peterson. It's my go-to right out the gate song that I play. He's kind of like a jazz, modern jazz, kind of like I don't know. It just puts me in a good mood. So this is a Marine Corps veteran, Noah Peterson. We'll be right back.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, we are back with that fun musical interlude from Mr. Noah Peterson. Always puts me in a good mood hearing that. Before the break, we were kind of just talking. Magic Mike was giving some great advice about credit, using credit wisely. I was just curious. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I got an echo here. My bad. Let's see what I was going to ask. What is your most impulsive purchase that you made while you're in the military? Anybody want to jump in?
Impulsive for me, and again, I was a kid, right? I think it was right when this is 2010. I think it was when the Xbox came out. Jumped right all over it. Went out and bought the games, the controllers, the TV. I spent my weekend paycheck on that. And yeah, going through the week sucked.
You do pay for it in the end. But yeah, well, that's a pretty common thing, especially for you're young, you're 19, 20 years old, first job sometimes out of the home, and like you said before, you don't always have financial responsibilities when you're starting out. So that's where I think the DoD as a whole, I've said this before, could do a lot better with educate financial literacy and educating, especially in starting from basic training, all the way to the AIT tech schools and your first
Absolutely.
base, all that stuff. So,
I mean, you guys know. I mean, you guys remember basic training. The first time you got to go to the PX without being on a leash, I mean, I still have a sweater that says, United States Army Combat Engineer on it. I bought anything and everything that I could. And let me tell you, just to give you an idea, I came back in the 1980s in the Army, right? Well, the late 80s, and my monthly paycheck as a PFC was like $800. And I spent that bad boy in 2.1 seconds. We used to get paid once a month back then.
Ooh.
And I bought stupid things. I can remember being back paid COLA and buying stupid things. And it was like, if you think back now, it's like between the time in the military, you're talking about, I would probably be a billionaire right now if I would have saved some of that money, and just not even invested it, just put it in a savings account and left it there. But again, you said it the best, Joe, we're not educated from basic training AIT of, hey, listen, there's going to be those guys out there that are going to sell you those boots that you press a button and they're going to make you feel like tennis shoes that are $800, right? I remember when Gore-Tex first came out, I bought a pair of boots for $268. Man, I thought I was a Mac Daddy as a PFC. A lot of sergeant looked at me and just shook his head like, what an idiot, right?
We had gone through Fort Lost in the Woods, and Magic Mike is pretty much what really known to Fort Lost in the Woods, what it's like over there. When the PX came out, they had just announced that Rocky boots had shown up.
Oh yeah.
When Rocky boots shown up and it was on the PX, it was 175, 200, whatever. That line out the door for Rocky boots was better than Gore-Tex, was better than Danner's, was better because it's more comfortability, it's lightweight. And then it's like, here comes Nike, Under Armour, Oakley, here comes Adidas, and again, Magic Mike said it, they're getting up there in price. Nobody stopped and said, hey, do you have this, and this to go for your next duty station? No, we jumped out there, going to the clubs, getting tattoos, buying stuff that we really didn't need, but we did it anyway.
Joey, I mean, you got it. It's just a financial responsibility that we need to teach the young soldiers and even the veterans when they get out of the military, because, when you get out of the military, you now all of a sudden have financial responsibilities such as a light bill, water bill, right? You now have to pay for insurance on your car, which, you might have been, not needing a car when you were stationed in Korea or whatever be it. And, you have to kind of tame it back a little bit and show some financial responsibilities. Here's something a lot of people don't know is that how much of your salary should you have in savings? 3 months or something like that of your salary?
3 to 6 months is kind of like what I've always heard. 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, how many people have that in their savings account? You have people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and you hear all these stories about soldiers on welfare and so on and so forth. And it's like financial responsibility is about budgeting. Listen, I have still in my drawer. I'll show you guys. I still have in my drawer. You guys remember this, right? Let's see if I can get that in there.
No, it's fading out.
Oh yeah,
logbook.
Oh yeah. So I still have this, and guess what? My sons laugh at me, but I do all of my budgeting on that bad boy. And it's not just budgeting. I put on there, okay, I get this much a month, and this is how much goes out the bills. This is how much I'm putting in savings. And I heard even one better today. My wife and I were talking, and she got an alert from USAA, and I go, what is that? And she said, every day I have $8 go out of my account into a savings account.
Okay.
Neither one of us smoke. We're not big drinkers, so we really don't spend a lot of money. We kind of indulge in. I indulged in some cookies today. Oh my God, they were great. But other than that, we really don't do it. We don't do anything crazy, right? And I said to her, I said, and where does that go? She goes, it goes into a savings account. So every month I have about $240 in the savings account.
Nice.
You plan on leaving me? And she said, no, I just do that for Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that. So that's my spending money. That's my money. And it makes sense. Think about it. It really does make sense. Now, I don't spend any money every day, right? I usually make a purchase on the weekend or something like that. I'll take her out to dinner, or whatever be a date. But it makes sense, man. I mean, it's the smart thing to do. It's when you live paycheck to paycheck when you're living above your means, right?
Right.
And who doesn't want a nice car, right? Everybody wants that, or a nice truck, and people want those nice things, and I got it. But you save for it and you work for it. Now, money is not everything. Time, spending what, we go for a walk with the dogs. We went for a walk to the park, right? That doesn't cost us anything. And we have a good time. I know it sounds boring and stupid right now, especially to young people, but as you get older, it makes sense, man. And it's like, I'm not saving for my kids. I'm spending all my kids' inheritance. I don't care. I can care less about them. But it's being financially responsible. There's no reason that you should be filing bankruptcy unless there's something tragic and devastating that happens in your life. I got it. Divorce happens, and I got it that you lose your job or whatever be it. But you should still be financially stable enough to say, hey, this is how I'm going to take. And listen, creditors will work with you.
Yes.
They will, all these credit unions or banks and American Express and all these other people, they will work with you, and they will say, hey, listen, we got it. You're in financial needs. We don't want you to file bankruptcy because guess what? It gets wiped away.
Yep.
And, we get a tax credit because it gets wiped away, but we don't get the whole full amount. And it's just a hassle. So we'll work with you. Pay us $40. What can you bet? $30 or whatever be it. The worst thing you do is commit credit suicide. It is the worst thing in the world because to get back from that is so hard. It takes years and years and years. There's a gentleman that wrote a book called Life After Bankruptcy by Stephen Snyder, and had an opportunity to meet him and talk to him very, very often. And, he said the hardest thing for him was that 9.5 years after he filed bankruptcy from his divorce and everything like that, when he was writing the book, he went to his Chase Bank and he asked for a credit card. He banked with them for 20 plus years. He wanted a credit card that he could use, and that, all his money goes into there. And, he didn't want any other credit card, just wanted a credit card from it. And they said no, because he had filed bankruptcy. And he said, that was 9.5 years ago. And he said, well, it still shows. His son, who was born in Ecuador and lived in the United States, was in college, and his son applied for a credit card with Chase Bank and never had a bank account with them. And they gave his son a credit card with a credit limit of $5,000. Wow. Didn't have a job, was in college, only lived in the States a very short while. I think he came to the States when he was 16 or 17, went to college, was 19 years old. He was 19 years old, applied for a credit card, got it from Chase Bank with $5,000 credit limit with no job, no nothing. And here this guy was, he had so much money in his savings account. I think he told me he had $800,000 in his savings account at the time.
Wow.
He's like, look, I have $800,000 in my savings account right now. I just wrote a book, or I'm finished writing a book. I got this big deal, whatever. And he said it was the most enlightening thing for him from filing bankruptcy, no matter how rich you are. When he filed bankruptcy, it killed him, and it killed him for 10 years.
Yeah. That's the truth. And that's why I think there's more and more people talking about like bankruptcy. So, oh, it's a clean slate, or it's a reset. But I mean, it comes with a lot of ramifications that, like you said, that last for a decade almost.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cameron.
So look, real quick, I just heard a rumor, and I'm still waiting to hear for more about it. Right? Norfolk Southern, one of the railroad companies, they're fixing to file for bankruptcy. Think about what that's going to do to their employees, their stock market, their everything. I mean, yeah, they've had a lot of derailments, but this is not a unknown thing. BNSF, UP, they all have derailments at some point in time in the history. But now they're talking about filing bankruptcy. What's going to happen if that does happen? So let's, again, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. What happens?
Yeah, the bankruptcy. So the bankruptcy protection for a company is a little bit different than personal. For the companies, it's a chance for them to reset and say to their debtors, "Hey, listen, we're going to pay you, but this is what we're going to pay you. You're going to pay you pennies on the dollar because this is what you guys are now our debtors, and this is what we're going to pay." Whereas when you're personal and you file for that bankruptcy, right, the creditors look. People don't realize this, but it is a clean slate. You're absolutely right, fire social worker. You're absolutely right that it's a clean slate. But the creditors that you apply to, they still look and say, "What was your credit history like? what was your credit history like when you filed for bankruptcy, right? Did you file for bankruptcy and have 300 credit cards and all of them were maxed out and stuff? That shows an irresponsibility, right? That shows that there was an irresponsibility and you're just a risk. Did you learn your lesson? It's a 50-50, right? They're the ones who are taking the gamble, if you will, the risk, right? The risk falls all on them. And after that clean slate, right? You get wiped away, it all goes away and everything like that. After that clean slate, a decade later, you come out of there and you file for your first credit card. And it's a $400 limit, maybe a $300 limit. Then it takes years. It took him, Steven Snyder told me, it took him 15 years after bankruptcy to finally, we were talking about his Black American Express card one day. And I told him, I said, oh, one day I'll own one of those. And he said, you can. And he said his whole idea was that they looked at him as a risk for 15 years after his bankruptcy. So you're talking about 10 years of bankruptcy and then 15 years out of that. So 25 years before they looked at him no longer as a risk. I mean, that's a long time, so and then you have all these organizations that you see them all over. Veterans can have their debt wiped away and debt consolidation and stuff. So there's debt consolidation is a law firm that says, we're going to represent you. We're going to reach out to your creditors and we're going to tell your creditors, hey, we're going to pay you this much. We're going to pay you that much. But guess what? You could do that same thing. You don't need to pay a debt consolidation to that. So now instead of paying $1,000 a month to all your bills, you're paying $500. They're taking that $500, putting it in their pocket, and they're saying, we're going to pay creditor A over here $150 a month, and we're going to credit B over here $50 a month, and we're going to pocket the rest. And then once that's gone in a year or two, then we'll go on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So meantime, you're paying these people to do what you can do. Reach out to your creditors. Hey, I need a break. Hey, this is what's going on. I just lost my job. Give me a chance to get a new job or whatever be it. It's let me tell you, financial responsibility is the way to keep from having all these things going on. It really is. And just need somebody like you to just teach them, man, to let them know, hey, this is where it's at.
And don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. I mean, there's people out there that's willing to sit down and say, look, this is what I've learned. I'm going to pass my knowledge on to you. And you lay it on the table and say, let's not look at bankruptcy. Let's not look at these consolidation companies like Magic Mike is saying, because did you really accomplish anything? And there's a lot of questions that go beyond this topic that unfortunately we won't have time to cover tonight. But again, it's what can you learn from it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say, going into the psychology of things, I've had issues where, like, it's like you can teach or you can talk to your blue in the face, but until you take action, it's just words,
Absolutely.
So there have been times where I had people in my ear telling me, oh, maybe you should do this, but then I would still do it and then make those mistakes. So that's the challenge that as humans we have, so I just want to give some people give people grace that, you're allowed to be human and make mistakes. But
absolutely,
if enough people are telling you that you should change your behavior or should do something different, then you probably want to take that to heart.
Absolutely, Joey.
But yeah, that's
if
just
somebody's telling you over and over, hey, listen, this is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. It might be a bad idea. That Lamborghini you want to get, it might be a bad idea. Don't get that Lamborghini.
All right. Well, looks like it's about time for another little musical interlude, and we're gonna play some Andrew Robero, Bleed Red and Blue, Red, White, and Blue. So we'll be back, and we'll continue our conversations about personal finance.
Since I'd seen his face, not much had changed, just a different time, different place. When I shook his hand, I knew something had changed. This was a different man from the one I knew back then. That's when he said, "Where do they go?" Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and brag. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. He told me the tales of his journeys far away. 3 times gone and land most only see on the front page. With honor and glory, he stood so tall and fought for you and I, so we could be free from it all. When he said, "Where do they go?" Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and pride. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. Where do they go? Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and brag. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. This is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Oh, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Red, white, and blue.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, we are back. This is Money in the Military on Military Broadcast Radio. We've been talking. We actually had Magic Mike had to drop out. He was having some internet connectivity issues, so sad to see him go. But we're glad to have him, and just fortunate to get his perspective. And he had a lot of great things to say. So yeah, just thank you, Magic Mike, from beyond the stream. But yeah, we still got some time. Me and you, Cameron, we're gonna rock this out and just keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were talking a little bit. We kind of got on different topics, but we were talking about bankruptcy.
And great topics too.
yeah. I mean, this is good stuff. But it's one of those, like I said, it's one of those things that we just don't really in the military community. We just don't really talk about these things very much, or as much as we should.
No.
But I don't know. Anything jump out at you from what Magic Mike was saying?
I mean, he's spot on with everything he said. You
Yeah.
know, it's save. You know, you said it. I've somewhat said myself, but he said it mainly. Save it.
Yeah.
You know, be responsible. You know, and just think about what your future holds. Think about, are you going to stay in, and what your goal is? Do you want that nice car? Do you want that nice house? Do you want land? What do you want? And where do you do you want to go to school? School loans are out there. I mean, colleges are. I mean, you don't use your GI Bill, and you want to go to school, or you lose that GI Bill and you want to go to school. Hey, you have a backup. You have a way to pay those instead of sitting there saying, "Hey, Uncle Sam, go pay it for me."
Right.
No. It don't work that way. I hate to tell you guys. So there's a lot of things that as a kid I never thought of, and then I got out, and then it's hell. What do I do next? Where do I go? Because people end up on the street, or they refuse help, or they don't want to ask for help, and again, it all leads back to one thing: X. Who's the one that's made that mistake? It's always yourself, and then you got to pick yourself up from the bootstraps and try to figure out, how to pay these bills or how to get another job. So there's always that. So
yeah. I really liked how he talked about a little bit about, obviously active duty. You're in a unique situation where you have a lot of things taken care of. Your health care. That's a huge one that a lot of people truly underestimate until they get out, especially if they went from basic like 18, 19, 20, like unless they had to pay for their own health care before they joined. It's one of those things where you don't know what you have until you have to pay out of pocket for healthcare, or you have to pay an employer for healthcare, So that's just one of those things that you have to think about when you're active duty, to plan for financially whenever you're about to get out. Because I mean, you could go on a like if you're not working, maybe you're in that transition period. You go onto the healthcare.gov website and you can find a plan, but I mean, man, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
I was just going to say, with my company of being a truck driver, we're a small outfit. All health insurance, just health insurance alone is $90 a week because we get paid weekly as drivers. So we get this, and then you got all your extra benefits, whatever. And I added it up. For 1 week, it was $360 coming out of my paycheck. Out of what I mean, I'm like, I can't afford the health insurance. So I took the smaller end of it, knowing I have the VA in my back pocket. But there's only certain things the VA is going to cover depending on your I guess your rating or your whatever they put down in the system.
Service connected,
Yes, and so again, there's a lot that's to be considered, and that website, I never did like it. I looked on it, and some elderly people and some young people, it's not biased against who it goes against. The premium, it keeps going up and up and up, and you're sitting there thinking, how do I afford healthcare, or how do I even afford dental when it's the basic? When that keeps going up, then you got your vision when it don't cover but one pair of glasses. Again, we can sit here till we're blue in the face and the cows are calling home and they're wanting their feed. Guess what? We're not saying something we don't already know. It's that person that's doing this mistake. They have to make that mistake to say, see, Joey was right. Joey was sitting here telling me not to do it.
Oh man. But see, I don't want to be right. I want to prevent these people from doing these things, So that's kind of where my head's at lately. But but yeah, like it's just one of those things. It's just you don't know what you don't know a lot of times, and that's fine. You learn, you grow, you develop over time. That's how we evolve as humans and everything. But like we were talking about earlier, if enough people are telling you, you should probably be doing something differently than,
Well, and again, depending on that person.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to you or anybody else.
Yeah.
My mom beat me down day in and day out. Pay your bills, pay your debt, do this, do that. What does that one person do? They start getting stubborn and hard-headed, and their ego gets in the way, and they don't listen to the parent, or they don't listen to that one person that has repeated it constantly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I the intro video, you paid off your debt in 3 years as an E3, right? Or how your video goes. It took me 3 years to pay off almost $10,000 worth of debt that I put myself in because I'm like, I'm done. I'm getting up there in age. I'm still 34 years old, but still, when you get to a certain point, you're like, dude, you need to pull your head out your hindquarters, and you need to pull your boots up on your bootstraps and start doing it, because your parents ain't going to help you.
Yeah.
Your friends, your family, they're not going to support you, and it's time to grow up and pay your bills. So I learned the hard way.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I did too, and I think for some people, as hard as it is to say and to admit that, I think some people genuinely do have to learn the hard way. They have to make the mistake. It's like touching a hot stove. Like, I can tell my 4-year-old, like, don't touch that hot stove 100 times, and then that 101st time he might decide he's going to do it, but he'll learn after that. But
Yeah, and you're gonna hear about it for the next 6 months too.
absolutely. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, this is the like like I've said before, like I'm trying to talk to that active duty, maybe E1, E2, E3, like just coming in and be like, all right, this is what all of us older people are trying to tell you. But then I also want to talk to those, E5s that are maybe getting out. And then, people who are just retired and want to figure out how to manage their VA benefits or their TRICARE stuff. So that's the thing. Like the the money, I guess it's not necessarily military specific, but there are some things that only veterans and only military members will know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's why
people in the civilian world were speaking,
Chinese
to them.
Yeah, BAH, BAS, like there's like
Cola.
what is that? Cola, yeah, all the acronym alphabet soup stuff.
And then you get downrange. You got dangerous pay. And you
Yeah.
got this. And you getting all this other stuff, and it's like,
Hmm.
what? And
Yeah.
it's crazy of how much acronyms or how much
Hmm.
the alphabet soup gets dumped in on the
Hmm.
military guys.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense that some people don't know about the programs like SDP, like the savings deposit program. Did you hear about that when you're deployed?
We heard about it, but they
Yeah.
didn't push it. They didn't
Yeah.
like, it's up to you.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just like a 5-minute briefing, and then they're like, that's it.
And you left standing there holding a piece of paper going,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm hoping that just through osmosis, or they're putting it out there in the universe, that the DoD is going to start taking this seriously and really, and I mean, I feel like they've started to make some changes. I've been reading up on it a little bit, but the DoD is a huge entity. It's going to take time to just start filtering down to each level. Financial literacy. Trainings, briefings, because like every base does have financial counselors or some type of financial professional, but that's usually one person for the entire base. Sometimes. So
Yeah, I mean, you can go from what we'll say a couple thousand to 20,000 or more, depending on how big the base is. So
yeah,
there's your example.
Mm-hmm. And like I got to do an internship with the financial counselor at Travis Air Force Base in California, and I mean his appointments never stopped. Like he basically had a full schedule all the time of and he was basically pulling band-aids, off one at a time. Whereas I'm like, there's got to be a better, like more efficient way to help people, like some kind of group. I don't know, like maybe like a group therapy session for some of these people, because some people do have spending problems. And
Yes.
that goes back into like the financial trauma. It goes into, my stuff that I talk about on the certified financial social work stuff. So, people do have actual financial traumas in their lives. And a lot of times people don't even know that until they're an adult and they're managing their money. And they're like, why do I do this? And it turns out that they're just following the same pattern that their parents did, that their parents and parents did,
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes it's like, it's not even their fault. It's just being a product of your environment. But at the same time, the whole nature versus nurture, like we want to make sure that the environment is good, but then, you got to take care of yourself too.
Yeah, you do.
So, all right, well, I'll get off that little soapbox, but so we got about 5 or 6 minutes left. I was
Let's
just
get those questions.
yeah. Let's see. All right, these are kind of okay. So this is more of a broader question.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a little bit, but can you share a time when you achieved a major financial goal while serving? I mean, I guess that one's kind of easier for me, like paying off the debt thing. That was my big thing. Paying off $20,000 as an E3, living in the dorms for the first part of that. But yeah, I mean, there were some other goals that I met too, like from that point of we're paying off the 20,000. I also then went and saved up 10,000 within like another year after that. So within 4 years, I went from negative 20K to positive 10K. And there's a lot of different things that I did to get to that point, and a lot of it did have to do with sacrifice. Getting roommates. I think we haven't really talked about that as much, but like you can get a roommate and save you some money, especially if you're getting BAH. Like if you're getting a housing allowance, like this is something, I don't know if they're still doing that because I know they were talking about kind of cutting back on the housing allowances. But yeah, like I think at one point it was like me and 3 other people living in a house in Las Vegas, and we were making, it was like $300 a piece, but our BAH was like $1,300 or something like that. So we were pocketing $1,000 a month, each of us. But the difference was my $1,000 went to putting money away for my future. Whereas some of the guys, they did not put their money towards the future. They and they mean to an extent enjoying the present. That's fine. That is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to, like I said, the future self will thank you whenever it comes time. But yeah, that's just a little thing that I'd like to highlight too. Is just save you some money on housing, especially if you don't have any kids or family. If it's just you. You don't need to go and get your own 1-bedroom apartment. Get you some barrack buddies and get a house and just split it for 6 months to a year or however long you can stomach each other, and save you some money.
Yeah,
it's definitely not for everybody, but yeah. I don't know. What do you have anything that you feel that was like a win?
Not really, and that's where my mistakes come in. Unfortunately, is going basic training. We spent so much money getting ready. Actually, when we got to Germany, we spent so much money buying gear that I believe the military should have already either given us or hey, you write out let's say a voucher or hey, I pay you back soon or I owe you whatever. Here's what you need. You tell them and they just give it to you. And again, that's where my mind goes into Wonderland.
Yeah.
But I spent so much money trying to pack and trying to get ready for war. I didn't have anything really successful. And that's where when I came out, they lost my battle gear. They lost my helmets or my clothes or whatever. So I had to pay all that back.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't have anything positive, but I have a learning curve of keep track of your stuff.
Yeah.
And keep track of your money and learn from it. But that's me.
Okay. Well, what about since you've become since you separated and become a veteran transition and everything? Is there any anything that you've been able to knock out since you've been out of the service?
Well, again, learning from my mistakes is, don't go to a car dealership. Don't sit there at the car dealership going, "Hey, I'm going to finance at the car dealership." They love the person who look at you going, "I got this sucker hook, line, and sinker." Before you even got 15 feet in the door. And I did it. I walked in, didn't have credit, didn't have money down, put a car on there. My car payment was $400. Interest rate is 18 or 20%. You're sitting there thinking, okay, I can do this. But again, the job wasn't there, or I didn't have the financial mindset. So I put myself in debt, and I had medical bills, and I had a credit card. 21, 22 years old, I got USAA or Navy Federal calling me going, "Hey, you qualify for a new credit card. Here's your credit limit," and it's raising it up because you kept it so good or you never used the card. They don't tell you that your interest rate is going to go up with it, or it's going to, you take over something. And again, there's a lot to learn, but from 2019 to 20, 21, 22, almost 23, I paid off almost $10,000 to $12,000 by myself. I was like, no assistance from parents. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had jobs, and I put some money away, like $40, like whatever Magic Mike was talking about, $40, $50, whatever. I put it away. In the year, here's my tax money. Okay, what can I pay off my tax money? Or what can I, and again, Magic Mike said it, work with your creditors because they'll take anything and pay them $50. They can't turn it down. If they do, then the debt goes to basically null and void, in my opinion.
Right.
But they work with you. They want that money because you walked into that business or you walked into the emergency room saying, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
But I just started paying it little by little. I went for the smallest bill, and I'd pay $50. Went to the next bill, and I'm like, I could put another $10 on that bill. So I went to $60, and I just kept paying it, and it started to snowball effect to where by the end of the 3 or 4 years I was in debt, I was like, don't do this again, don't do that again, and I kept going down my list. Well, then I had an old pickup truck. I had to get a newer vehicle. I went through my credit union. I actually went smarter. I worked on my credit. I worked on saving money. Traded this old junk truck in. I mean, I could have winded it up from the rear end of the truck and pushed it in. That's how bad it was.
Oh, man.
Again, I've got a job where I can pay my bills and we work our butts off. But it's, you learn from those past mistakes of, let's not get $15,000, $20,000 worth of debt. Pay your bills, pay them on time, pay them early, and figure out what you can pay off.
Yeah.
Always keep track of that. Credit Karma's good. Your credit union, your banks, your credit cards, they've all got new trackers now that says, hey, here it is. Joey, what's that website that you can pull all 3 credit reports at once?
Well, there's annualcreditreport.com, I believe is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, you can go in there. It's free. Pull a credit report, match everything up, get a hold of TransUnion, Experian, whoever, and say, look, this don't look right. Can we remove this? Can we work on cleaning this up a little bit? Again, they don't want your information out there. They want to help you secure it and make sure it's right.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great. Thank you for sharing the lessons that you've learned. And actually, we're kind of running over on time a little bit, but once again, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about, and I think we should be doing this on the regular, maybe. Just talking about money and helping veterans in any way that we can. So
yes, sir.
So I just wanted to say thank you for jumping on the stream and giving out your pearls of wisdom, and just thank you for doing what you're doing, and stay safe on the road. That's going to be it for the stream. Thank you for everybody joining, watching now or watching later. I really do appreciate it. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.